I'm a 29-year-old guy and have been with my girlfriend who's 28 for 4 years. We've discussed marriage in the past and it's something we're both interested in, so we knew it was on the cards in the future for us. While at her grandparents' for the family Christmas dinner a while back, I saw some old pictures. Among them was her grandmother when she was younger with a beautiful ring. I learned it was a family ring that a relative had sold to buy stuff and they could never get it back. My girlfriend commented how she'd looked forward to inheriting the ring when she was older and the family lamented the loss. In private, I actually asked her grandmother if I could borrow one of the pictures as it gave me an idea. I got a custom engagement ring made as close to the picture as possible. There are small differences, but it's very close beyond that. It was a little more expensive than I'd been originally planning to spend, but I thought it was a nice gesture and the perfect ring all in all. When I proposed with it, my girlfriend was shocked, thinking I'd tracked down a ring that looked similar and happy until I explained that no, I'd had it made. Then she got upset with me. She thought if I was going to get a custom ring made, I should have had her help design it, so it was to her exact taste. I pointed out that she'd said she wanted to inherit this ring and I thought it was a good gesture and a way of bringing the ring back to her family. She disagreed, stating that it's not the same ring, so it doesn't hold the same sentiment, and I should return it to get a new custom ring. Obviously, I can't do that. It's a custom ring, which means there are no refunds, and that upset her. I wanted to surprise her with a gesture that I thought would mean a lot, but it backfired. I'm a bit upset that she was happy with the ring until she learned it was a custom ring. We're not yet engaged as the proposal kind of backfired, as you all can see. Am I the idiot for doing this? Not the idiot. That was no backfire. This worked out perfectly. You were able to see her true colors before the marriage. Run, buddy. Run fast. It sounds like she's being really petty about it. Maybe it's not got the same sentiment as the original, but now it's got a wonderful story behind it that would enrich its sentimental value for anyone who inherited it in the future. It's really sad that she's taken such a special and grand gesture that you clearly went through a lot of effort for, turned it around, and made you feel bad for it. Do not feel bad or weird for being incredibly thoughtful and essentially recreating an heirloom. She's lucky to have you, clearly, though I'm not sure I can say the same for you. I 100% agree. That has to be the nicest thing any guy has ever done, and if she doesn't appreciate the effort, he needs to run. But my petty side says tell grandma what happened and offer her the ring instead. People often ignore the fact that an engagement ring is a piece of jewelry that you will wear and look at every day for your entire life. It's very valid to have opinions on how it looks, and in this day and age, many women are very involved in designing or shopping for their rings. I think most women would at least expect to have a conversation about how ring shopping would be handled before anything is purchased. OP made what, in his mind, was a grand and thoughtful gesture, but on his girlfriend's end, an important decision she always wanted to be involved in was made without her. This is the correct response. It seems like any time a woman doesn't fawn over her engagement ring, the response is, she's a crazy gold digger, you should run from their relationship, which is so incredibly dramatic. Engagement rings are deeply personal, and it's usually a good idea to make sure they're to the taste of whomever you're giving them to. It was a really sweet, thoughtful gesture, but it missed the mark. I'm getting married in a few weeks, and this has become an issue. Long story short, my brother married Gemma 4 years ago. She and I have a history. In high school, she was a bully, and I was one of her targets. She bullied me until it got to the point my parents changed my school because I was struggling. I have a history of anxiety disorder as well as depression. She made me so unstable and took joy in it, from stuff about how I looked, calling me fat, ugly, disgusting, to mocking how I spoke because I sometimes struggled to finish sentences or talk without a stutter. Then, 2 years after I left the school, she got expelled for bullying other girls, one in particular that got so bad for an expulsion. And then we ended up in the same school again and she went right back to targeting me. At the worst, she said something unforgivable and disgusting, and I finished high school at home because of it. I also started suffering panic attacks again after that. So it turns out she had a rough family life and she ended up having a breakdown a couple of years after we both graduated. My brother met her again while she was working on becoming a better person and they fell in love. It hurt me deeply that my brother could fall in love with the person who did what she did to me. He told me she was a different person, that she'd changed and grown. He made me listen to an apology from her, and then it was suddenly like that should be it, and now we're family. It's not that simple for me. I can understand she had a rough past and see that she does seem to be a better person, but I still hate her for what she did to me. mostly because what happened meant I had to leave school and started having panic attacks again. It's also hard for me with my brother sometimes, knowing he believes he can absolve her of what she did to me and believes that I should treat her like I love her. My wedding has now become a hot topic because my brother was asked to be a groomsman by my fiancée and Gemma has not been asked to do anything. She's just a regular guest. An unwanted one, admittedly, but one who is there all the same. My mom and brother asked about Gemma being a bridesmaid, but I turned it down. But what really started this is my brother found out my fiancé had a couple of friends he would have asked to be groomsmen, but because we needed the numbers even and because I would never ask Gemma, he decided not to. My future brother-in-law blabbed. So now they're saying I'm an idiot for not including her in some tiny way and making it seem like she's not part of the family. My dad told them it was too much to ask of me and that part of being a better person for Gemma is accepting that she and I will never reach a better place. So now my dad is in the doghouse too. Am I the idiot? Your dad is right. If she was a good person now, she'd understand that she's owed zero forgiveness for her actions, no matter what her home life was like then or what her current life is like now. Not the idiot. You and your dad are solid. She's even invited to the wedding, which is more than I'd ever do in a situation like this. I'm side-eyeing OP's mom. She had a front row seat to all the torment Gemma put OP through and its impact on her daughter, and she genuinely thinks one apology magically makes everything okay. Good on Gemma for trying to better herself, but that doesn't erase all the pain and mental torture she put people through. She, OP's brother, and mom should be glad she's even allowed to be there. I usually don't try to assume anything unless the OP says something, but I genuinely wonder if maybe OP's brother and Gemma are about to start trying for kids and OP's mom is blinded by future grandbabies. I didn't see anywhere how she came to you and apologized for all that she did and begged for your forgiveness while explaining she'd understand if you couldn't give it to her. OP, she isn't sorry. All that matters to her is her own trauma. She apologized to make herself look good and to feel better about causing you pain. Personally, if it were me, I'd disinvite your brother, his wife, and your mother if they keep throwing a fuss. Your dad's solid, he can stay right where he is. You deserve a stress-free wedding. My husband, 34, is your brutally honest type of guy. He's also incredibly attractive because he takes good care of his appearance. From when we started dating, I got used to strangers or servers complimenting his looks and expressing their admiration in different ways. I always found it harmless, but he gets so worked up over the smallest comments from people. He thinks it's rude and ignorant. We went out to eat at a new diner. When we gave the waitress our orders, she looked at my husband, smiled and complimented his hair. He smiled and said, "Thank you." He then looked at me and asked if I noticed how the waitress was basically trying to flirt. I noticed, but figured maybe she did this to get more tips or something since it's pretty common practice, and I used to do it. He looked at me shocked and asked, "Really?" He then dropped it till the waitress got back with our meals. As she was putting the food down at the table, he looked at her and said, "Hey, let me tell you a little secret." And she looked at him and was like, He then said, "I have been all around the world for the past 10 years and I've seen many, many beautiful women, but I'm married," he stressed like this, "to the most beautiful one, and she's all I see now and forever." The waitress looked dumbfounded. She smiled awkwardly and then asked why he was telling her this. He replied, saying it was to save her time and effort with whatever she was trying to do. She looked down and quickly walked away. I said that was hurtful and uncalled for, but he said she needed to hear it to learn a lesson and know her place. I told him she was being harmlessly flirty, barely, which could be her way of getting better tips and that he didn't need to embarrass her like that. He was like, "I don't get you. You should be encouraging me to shut this down instead." I said it was just a comment she made about his hair and that's it. He got upset and said that I made him feel crappy for trying to set a boundary for himself, but I thought he overreacted. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Used to receiving compliments or not, that's an awful way to view it. Compliments don't equal intimate attraction. You can compliment a friend or stranger without feeling the need to be in a relationship. The dude sounds like he jumps to conclusions and then boasts to make himself feel better. Maybe he needs to start giving out compliments instead of only receiving them to gain some humility. Not the idiot, but what kind of person puts someone in their place? Your husband's desire to teach someone a lesson is disturbing. There's nothing normal or healthy about his response. That's genuinely foul. He's got a much bigger problem than cheerful waitresses. The first thing that your husband, and honestly you, needs to learn is that just because somebody compliments another person does not mean that they are flirting. And just because you think your husband is good looking doesn't mean everybody else does as well. Your husband may think he's the hottest thing around, but I guarantee plenty of people do not agree with you. She complimented him to be nice because maybe that's her personality, and your husband was an idiot. People like to complain that men don't get compliments. It's because women are afraid it will seem like flirting. Thanks to OP's husband, one less woman will feel comfortable complimenting men. Background. My 36 male wife, Elise, 32, is 37 weeks pregnant with a boy. The pregnancy has been rough for her and she's been on bed rest for the past 2 months, but we're still excited about our first child together. We've had a lot happen over the past year: first house, new jobs in our career fields, a new dog, new car, marriage, etc. And this baby has been the icing on the cake for us. My brother Kirk, 34, and his wife Jill, 30, have just lost their home for lack of payment. Jill is a stay-at-home mom to their daughter, young child, and Kirk's job has been cut down to 4 days a week, so money has been tight for them. Kirk asked if they could stay with us for a few months. I knew about them losing their house a couple of weeks ago, so that part wasn't a surprise, but I didn't know they had nowhere to go. We have a decent-sized family. We have 2 older sisters, 38 and 40, and Kirk's twin, 34, all married. I asked why he couldn't stay with them. He said the 2 oldest couldn't accommodate them as they both live in 2-bedroom apartments, and our brother lives with our parents, both 67, over 1,000 miles away in a 2-bedroom townhome. Kirk pointed out that Elise and I have a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath house, meaning there's enough room for them to have 2 rooms and we can have the other 2. Plus, we live in a good school district for my niece and we're only 20 minutes from their house, so my niece can still see her friends. I was hesitant and said I'd ask Elise and get back to him. Elise said no. She said that since it's our first child, she wants to have time to bond with our child and be a family. She also intends to breastfeed and wants privacy. She said she's already nervous about giving birth. She wants a natural one and does not want the stress of an entire family in her safe space. House. I'm not going to lie, I agreed. I told Kirk that we decided, yes, I said we, and he got mad at me, reminding me that when I took a year off of college for my depression, he let me stay with him for 6 months. I told him that was different because I paid him rent, $350 a month, and neither of us had a wife or children. I said my wife is pregnant and she needs time to relax after having the baby. Kirk, unbeknownst to me, had me on speaker, and Jill commented that Elise and I were being self-centered and that they were going to have nowhere to go if we didn't help them. But I said we can't right now because we must think of our son first and Elise's health after giving birth. So I asked Jill if she would have wanted to host a family at their house immediately after giving birth, and then the phone hung up. This was last night. Our eldest sister Hannah called me soon after to convince me to change my mind, saying that we could still bond with 3 additional people in the house and this may come back to bite me in the future, but I still said no. But honestly, I'm starting to feel bad, but I still don't agree with Elise. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Oh, so they're just staying for a few months, allegedly. Why does the school district matter? Isn't the point here simply to ensure they have a roof over their heads? Or are they under the impression that once they've moved in, they can guilt-trip you into letting them stay in perpetuity since you owe Kirk for helping you out that one time under completely different circumstances, and you've got the room and resources, never mind that you might have other plans for them? It sure sounds like the latter to me. Put your foot down that this is not an option and you need to focus on the impending birth of your child. So Kirk and Hannah and anyone else who insists on involving themselves needs to figure something else out instead of continuing to waste time arguing with you. OP, notice how she didn't answer and hung up when you asked if she would have appreciated having people stay in her house after giving birth herself. She knows she wouldn't have and didn't like you pointing it out. They lost their house for lack of payment and are both without jobs, so they won't be qualifying for a mortgage anytime soon, and getting someone to let them rent anywhere decent isn't going to be an easy task either. They've essentially split your house half and half in their minds and planned their daughter's entire schooling and social life based on your house's location. If you let them move in, they will move you out in a few months. I recently turned 30. Leading up to my birthday, my long-term boyfriend of 4 years asked what I'd like for my birthday. I thought about it, but there wasn't much I wanted. Finally, I asked him to buy me a kimono for my sister's upcoming wedding in August, as mine is old. We'll be flying out to Japan for my sister's wedding and spending time with my family there. We plan to move there next year to be closer to my family, as we met while I was in the UK working. My birthday came round and I was excited to see the kimono he got me. I'd left it as a surprise as I wanted to see what he'd pick out for me. He knows my favourite colours and styles, so I figured it would be fine. But it wasn't. I opened the box and it was a hanbok. For all of you who do not know what a hanbok is, it's a traditional Korean dress. I asked my boyfriend why he got a hanbok, and he told me it was a pretty kimono, so he thought it would be good. I told him it wasn't Japanese, but Korean. He asked me if it mattered. Now, if this was a new relationship, I wouldn't have cared as much. I'd have marked it down to him, honestly, not knowing the difference or being suckered in by marketing who don't know the difference. Though I'd never have asked a new boyfriend to get me something like that. But we've dated for years. He's been to Japan with me several times, he's seen me in a kimono, he's even learning Japanese. We're planning to move to Japan, and you don't realize why a hanbok and a kimono are not interchangeable? I asked him to return it as I couldn't wear it, and he got upset, saying he'd tried and it had looked good on me, so I should just wear it and not return it. This isn't my culture. I can't wear this to a Japanese wedding. I admit I got angry with him then, leading to an argument. I finally told him if he liked it so much, he could wear it because I wouldn't be. I feel a bit guilty now I've had time to cool off. It's not his culture, so maybe I should be more forgiving. But surely, having been involved with me so long and learning about my culture in preparation for a move, even if he made a mistake, he should have realized once I explained that no, the two are not interchangeable, and promptly agreed to return it. Speaking as a Chinese-American guy, how do you mistake a hanbok for a kimono? Those are two completely different things. It's like asking to do tacos for dinner because you're in the mood for Mexican and getting hot dogs instead because they're shaped vaguely the same? You are not the idiot. God, where did he even get it? Did he just Google Asian traditional dress and get whatever came up? I'm unclear where you go for a kimono that you'd end up accidentally buying a hanbok. It's yet another man who thinks anything he bothers to screw up deserves your praise because he tried, instead of recognizing that his attempt was actually insulting in its failure, and even worse because he got mad when you pointed it out instead of apologizing. Screw that. If he doesn't care at this point after 4 years, he never will.